guys, so I have a special guest today, which is my Uncle James, and I'm pretty happy about that. You're gonna notice he's one really smart guy, and he's a freaking teacher, which I will brag about infinitely. And in this video, you don't have to download any, subscribe to any site, you don't have to buy a book to make it work, you just have to listen and see what he has to say. My first question, what is poetry therapy?
Poetry therapy is a brain-based, researched way of connecting your emotions with your writing and making sure you don't re-traumatize yourself. What does that mean? Well, there's really three different parts of the brain that we're talking about. There is your brainstem, also known as your lizard brain. Now this controls your fight or flight reflex. And when people have been traumatized, especially in youth, this kicks in. When people are traumatized and their brainstem kicks in, they don't think, they don't reason, they just react. They fight or flight. That's why, if you talk to young kids, you can find that often when they're stressed out, they just start punching. They're not thinking, they're just in the moment. Second part of our brain is our hippocampus, also sometimes known as the mammalian brain. Now this deals with all our emotions, right? So if you can get past the brainstem into the mammalian brain, you can access your emotions. Unfortunately, this also ties into a lot of problems. If we get emotions happening, sometimes our brain can't get out of this. The third part of our brain is the cerebellum. It's really what makes us human. This controls all our higher thinking. This controls all our personality. Unfortunately, when we are traumatized, we can't seem to get out of the brainstem, out of the emotional response, into our thinking. So poetry therapy is one way to engage the brain, and so that we can stop simply emotionally reacting, or even deeper than emotions, reacting by instinct.
So that's where you go, this is one smart guy, like I said at the beginning. And the second question is, how did you learn about poetry therapy?
I've had two big interests most of my life. One is poetry, writing poetry, sharing poetry. I love poetry. The other one is education. As a teacher, I've come across that a lot of students just can't seem to learn properly, easily, because they have so many issues. Now there's a whole bunch of research, including from the UNBC on trauma-informed classrooms, which really bring this out. The idea that we can't control the learning until we deal with the brain engagement. So through my own research, through my work in classrooms, through other people's research, I've sort of come together to create this idea of poetry therapy. I'm not really the creator. I'm stealing from other people, but I'm the first one that I know that's putting together this way.
Third and final question. How have you benefited from poetry therapy?
Well, poetry therapy, as I say, I love writing poetry. And poetry has really gotten me through a whole bunch of tough times in my life. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to try and create something. As I see my students struggling in school, right, especially young kids who just can't seem to get beyond wanting to punch everyone in the face every time something goes wrong, I needed to create a tool. That's how poetry therapy not only helps me to get through hard times, but it's helped me to get other students and kids through hard times. How does it work? Well, we want to engage our higher thoughts, get out of the brainstem, get out of the emotional, and get the brain going. Now, what we might know of is a lot of people have done journaling before, where you talk about all your problems. The problem is when you do that, it activates your emotional center and you can't get out. It actually can re-traumatize you. It's been researched over and over again. That's the very, very worst thing you can do, especially for young children or people who are emotionally unstable, is to have them talk about their problems. It doesn't work. People are often being re-traumatized by the events. What do you need to do? You need to talk about the events in a roundabout way and make sure that they can have their higher brain function. So, if at a very basic level, what you can simply do is get kids to write about anything. Random words on a page. Why? Because unlike speech, which comes from two areas on the side of the brain, writing engages the whole cerebral cortex. There's no one place where writing is located. It gets the whole brain active. So if you simply can tell people or tell yourself, don't try to make a story. Don't try to make sense. Write words. Some of the pain and emotions will come through anyway, but not directly enough that you will re-traumatize yourself. There's the first one. Another thing you can do once you're comfortable with this is simply do what's called an object poem. Take an object. It can be anything. It can be your remote control. It could be a cup of tea in front of you. And use poetic language to describe that perfectly. Again, the emotional connections are going to come into the way you describe it. But we're not trying to connect to the object emotionally. We can't help it. When we're upset, we're going to connect to it. We're not trying to write an emotion poem. We're trying to engage our brain, and our emotions are going to come through that writing. The last exercise that people can do is to talk about your problems, but not directly. Remember, we don't want to re-traumatize our emotions, and then we're moving away from our brain. We want to talk about it in an analogy or a story. So if you're feeling traumatized or re-upset by somebody talking about you, well, maybe you want to talk about a bear who was unloved. Or you want to talk about the king of the Jokers sent out a proclamation that no one can have fun anymore. Remember, we're trying to talk about our emotions without talking about our emotions. Can it be difficult? Yes. But this is the way that poetry especially works, especially when you're totally down and out. At least you can sit down and write words on a page. Is it brilliant? Not always. Is it good poetry? Not always. Is it poetry and a way to help your brain? Absolutely.
In conclusion, thank you so much. Thank you for being part of my channel, for this video, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I make videos about mental health, about Tourette syndrome, now that I said it ahead. Tourette syndrome, and everything, the whole wide variety of rainbow of mental health that I experience that I can share with you guys. So, yeah. Take care and see you next time.